that, but she told me to be quiet and not to show her up in front of the Germans, both of whom were checking their pressure gauges and looking up eagerly every time we chugged around another headland. Fleetingly, I wondered if they really had heard about the cathedral, or were just saying that for appearance's sake. It did seem odd that something as allegedly spectacular as this had to rely on freelance boatmen to take you there. I say boatmen because I assumed that Carlo was one of a number, but even though we'd been out with him for several hours by this time, we hadn't seen any others, either on their way there or on their way back. For all my doubts, the cathedral was worth waiting for. From the outside, it wasn't too impressive. A triangular opening in the cliff face, dark waves chopping and foaming inside it. But the moment we actually sailed in, it struck me how well named it was. A high, multicoloured roof arched above us, the waves reflected on it in sparkling liquid patterns. There was a big ocean swell, but the sense of space was mesmerising. I think every one of us must have gasped aloud in delight. The sunlight, beaming in through the cave mouth behind us, came up from the sandy floor fathoms below in rays of luminescence, turning the water swimming pool blue. "Can we swim here?" Karen asked excitedly. Carlo shook his head curtly. "Not yet, lady. Good place inside, I promise." For minutes on end we went deeper into the system, crossing one chamber after another, all as vast and airy as the first, many hung with stalactites. It was quite a network. Occasionally we followed narrow channels with roofs so low that we all had to crouch down. They were more like something from the river caves than the Blue Grotto, but always they fed through into new, immense caverns. It got cool quickly, of course, and dark. We were still chugging into the labyrinth when it struck me that there wouldn't be much point in swimming if it got any darker. I mentioned this to Carlo, but he insisted that not far ahead there was a good place. Karen hissed at me to stop worrying. This was part of the experience, she said. We were probably making our way through to the other side of the headland. I tried to put a brave face on, but wasn't entirely convinced. We were now so far in that even the ocean's swell had dwindled. Daylight had almost deserted us, and the water was black. That was when Carlo cut the motor, and we found ourselves drifting. He began fiddling with some equipment under his bench. It was a portable arc lamp. He hefted it up and switched it on, just as we cruised through into the next cave. It would have been a void in there, had he not done so. For this was a truly gargantuan chamber, with no natural light and water as still as any inland lagoon. Even with the strong electric light, we could not at first see the encircling walls. Carlo trained the light upward. "Fantastic rock formation, no?" he said proudly. We followed his gaze. Countless feet above us hung innumerable dripping stalactites. "Even better down there." He swept the light over the surface of the water. Powerful as it was, it didn't penetrate far underneath. "You've got to be joking," I said. There was a blinding flash beside me, and I had to cover my eyes. It was Dolph, striking the first of his sodium flares. It threw a searing glare to the farthest corners of the cave. Both the Germans were fully rigged out, cylinders in place, spear guns loaded. Dolph was wearing a kind of bandolier belt, with the remaining 8 flares fitted into it. "Good place to swim," Carlo went on, nodding brightly. Heidi swung her supple body over the side and lowered herself gently into the water. Dolph followed. He gave us the thumbs up before sliding under. The flare was clearly visible, and we could see them both flippering their way down. With such a bright light below, the water no longer seemed so menacing. Twisted granite outcrops were discernible, albeit at some considerable depth. "They're more adventurous than I am," I told Karen. She gave me a withering look, then stripped off her t-shirt and picked up her goggles and snorkel. "You're not going down as well," I said. She slid quickly over the side, cringing at the brief chill. "For God's sake, Rob! It's just the sea. We're not in some flooded pothole." She pushed herself away, swimming out over the lagoon with dolphin-like